Me going live again is out of the blue because I do usually don't do this, but I decided to because I got something to talk about. Right? So now I do, I do. Yes, obviously. Today we're talking about the platform for queers, Netflix, Cuxflix, Toyflix, I don't know. It's going through some phases, Netflix over there, so give it some time. It might come to a full circle with its identity crisis, okay? It may not even go be red anymore. It might be blue next time we see it. WWE has finally made it to Netflix. And judging by the description, we can already confirm that this is talking about ratings at all. Which is funny because I didn't think it would actually be talking about ratings. But it's something like, oh, there's there. And a lot of people have been kind of gassing shit up about the ratings. The Samba TV ratings came out today and said something on the lines of, as of right, the 664,000 viewers right now viewed Raw on Netflix, as compared to the WrestleNomics post reported by Nielsen, who is a third party of WrestleNomics, by the way, has reported 2.6 mil as households viewership, and this is talking about household viewership. This is same thing as done by TV. So basically, they're both households viewership. Reason I want to talk about this because there's a lot of things going on. So let me just talk about the most notable ones. So as far as that goes, people have already did the math, but WrestleNomics has kind of did the math too. So, which is funny because I don't know if people are. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news and shit like that, but I want to look at things for what they are before I head into anything. So, why are the numbers different? I'll get into that later, and people that will tune in later will only know why now. And it's not going to be talked about for too long because it's going to be alive for a bit. And I'm only live because maybe in hopes that somebody comes in. Just funny enough, right? But the Dialog Den is going to reveal this. So here's what we know. As far as Nielsen and Video Amped is concerned, Raw on Netflix has eclipsed 2.6 mil in household views. And not to mention, I'm not sure if this was reported by Nielsen at all or Video Amped in whatsoever, but globally, Raw on Netflix eclipsed over 4 million viewership globally during plus one views, whatever's going on there, right? So that is a pretty big number overall, and that's including household viewership. So that's included that. So we can confirm that that's included. Okay. So understanding this is what's being reported by Nielsen in VideoAmt, the third party of WrestleNomics. Yeah, Nielsen is the one that delivers the viewership ratings and the numbers. He's doing the tally ups of the total amount of people that watch a show. He's been doing that since 2015, as far as I know, and that was reports. So as far as Samba TV goes, Samba TV says 664,000 viewership in total. Right? Right. I think that's good enough. Samba TV is also kind of did the metrics rundown when it comes to that. A lot of other people on Twitter have been trying to do the rundown, and online YouTube, you name it, people were talking about it. So this is what I'm gonna say. Some people made the estimation. A lot of people made the estimation that in total amount of viewership, and if we kind of make the estimation, they got 1.5 mil, right? Which keep in mind, I'm not sure why exactly because forget it. I'm not gonna go really linger on it too much because it's Because everybody, it's a big deal for people. The ratings is a big deal for people now. It just blew up, and it being too big is either a problem or it's not, or it just doesn't make sense to somebody. Who knows? But Ramba TV has made the estimation that its household viewership was 664,000. So, understanding these are a few things to understand of what's going on here. Reason I am talking about this is one is that WrestleNomics has always been a credible source to go to when it came to viewership, right? And Nielsen has always worked for WrestleNomics. As far as Video Amped goes, I'm not too sure, but Video Amped has decided to work with Netflix in terms of tallying up viewership. Who knows what's going on there? Could the numbers be misconstrued? It's always possible. It's not out of the realm of possibility. There's even a Triple H saying, "Where do we have the numbers yet?" But Netflix said they're pleased. Because even though the numbers are already out, so he's a big nose fuckwit. So what do you expect? So knowing this is that WrestleNomics does their usual tally. More importantly, Nielsen does their tally up by same day viewership. I'm not sure what the term is exactly, but it tallies up as far as entirety is how many people watched in total. And I'm guessing by doing so, he looks at charts and box office days box office. I'm not sure what the exact name is, but it's something around the lines of boxes. But he Video Amped and Nielsen are using a lot of platforms to try to tally up the total amount of people that are watching at home, or just in general. Like for instance, the 4.9 mil and globally people watched overall, and that's including the household viewership. So that's to take into account. So Nielsen is using an overall variety of metrics to try to determine the absolute number. Samba TV, on the other hand, did the tally up, but believe it or not, it's more of a sample size. And knowing this is that they only did the metrics based on the people that were watching Raw on Netflix on the Ramba smart TVs, and they can only can't tally up the numbers if their consumers had the Samba TVs that were considered smart TVs. Yeah, right. So it's basically small sample size when Samba does it, right? So it's only counting how many people watched on their platform. Now, another thing to note is it's not talked about, and this is the only thing I can't really tell you for sure, is that if Nielsen doesn't include people TV ratings from other TV, companies or corporations at all. That's the only thing I don't know. I would assume that's what he does, but that's not for sure. It talks about more about streaming platforms and how he's tallying it up in total, not really based on TV networks. Doesn't really go to the TV networks or streaming platforms to make determinations. Not said but again, if we take to account like WrestleNomics has been the number one go-to when it came to viewership, so I wouldn't throw my trust under the bus just because another station reports something else. Listen, it might seem like bad news for people. I know who would see this. I know my people. Okay, I know it seems like unorthodox to suggest, but consider this: it is good news. Think of it this way: it is good news that something like Monday Night Raw on Netflix, and I talked about this in my last stream. New people are going to see it. Netflix isn't, believe it or not, new people are going to be interested, especially if you consider the highly advertised Monday Night Raw there. So if we consider the past and consider all these things where people were looking that just didn't see WWE in a long time or didn't realize WWE was still around, would probably be interested in that moment to be like, oh, WWE still alive? I wonder what's going on there. Of course, some people are going to tune in that moment. Especially Hulk Hogan being there. Especially The Rock being there. John Cena being there. I learned that they did actually bring up the Royal Rumble, but it was just for Johnson to say, "Yeah, I'm going to be in it." Would have thought. But knowing all that yeah, of course, it's gonna have a lot of viewership. You have to take that into account. It's a new platform. It's highly advertised, right? Your people are gonna be interested, especially people that haven't watched it for a long time and haven't been interested. See it now and be like, "I wonder what's going on." That's just gonna happen. It doesn't mean they're gonna be highly interested. That number could go down like 2.2 mil down either way. So it could like go way down. Yes, I mean it. They could go way down the next week. So we don't know for sure, and that doesn't attribute to is a how do I put it? It's not. It doesn't attribute to the same as consistent success. So let's not put our trust in Rambo TV, Samba TV, whatever you call it. I wouldn't put my trust in it. So who's in my chat? Well, oh, XC Kid, what's up, yo? Ah, I really got to get my phone fixed. Anyway, I think that's a good way to cover that. Like, this is good to understand, okay? I understand that some people might look at this go, yeah, that might be a lie. It could be a lie. It could be misconstrued. Numbers can be misconstrued. That's if anything, we know for sure people lie. But let me say this: 4.9 million globally is it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how else to put it for you. So, is it going to be consistent? Is the important part. Of course, there's going to be new viewers. Of course, people on Netflix that were getting the advertisements on about like Monday Night Raw, people on Netflix and shit like that. People are going to be interested. It was highly advertised by Netflix, and it was very much advertised, and it was advertised more than Dragon Ball Daima. That's a big deal. And Dragon Ball Daima, and trust me, Dragon Ball is extremely popular. So now going forward, as we know all of this, let's talk about further on Netflix. Now Netflix, I don't think WWE will succeed on Netflix for a lot of reasons. Even if people are interested in that moment, they're probably not going to be interested again. Okay, this is kind of how Netflix is. They more so prioritize like Asian, and they've been doing this recently. They've been prioritizing some Asian or cartoonish kind of like shows and shit, and then you see them try to kind of sneak woke stuff in it, and if they're not sneaking it, they're just up in your face about it. So it's either or. They're either trying to sneak it in, or they're just like, fuck it, let's just show that we're doing it, and who gives a fuck, stuff like that. So I'm not sure what they're thinking with Monday WWE, and I'm only thinking like they're only doing it because they see it as still as a profitable corporation that they could still market, right? People are still WWE is still around, right? And they could probably bring back some popularity to it, despite the fact that it's lost a lot of popularity over the years, and not many people even realized WWE was still around. Believe it or not, that's the big thing. That some people that were just curious tuned in that moment because they were curious and they got the advertisement. They were like, "I wonder what's going on." Had really nothing to do with like plus Hulk Hogan being advertised, John Cena being advertised, The Rock being advertised, Triple H coming out. Like I've talked about this in the past stream and how it actually failed, and it's gonna actually you only failed to keep. You're probably gonna fail to keep the viewership up there based on what the show they put on. Lack of direction, lack of urgency. I've already talked about this. I won't go into it too much again, but you see, Netflix has a big problem with this, and this is also there's some little political issues it has in itself too, especially with some culture problems, especially with foreign shows they invest in, like K dramas and anime and shit like that. And sometimes they'll try to make a show of themselves and just like it's either good or bad, and some of it just seems like AI generated. like Acrane, for example, it just seems like an AI generated scripts with good animation. No, I think they put more effort in the animation. And first things they did is just let the AI generate the shit, and then just focus on the animations. Like that's what I think they did. Netflix does this shit. Like, all right, make a work story about like a futuristic Acrane or some shit like that. Women empowered in Lesbos and all that stuff. But and people will act like it's actually a good show when it actually you lose interest around episode 5 and you just watch the clips. That's all you do. Yep. You know, AEW and WWE is got bad, and now people like y'all favorite nowadays wrestler. I'm not sure what that really implies, but because I don't really have a favorite in pro wrestling. I'm guessing you're saying AEW and WWE don't have the best ratings and they don't have the best talents at all, and they're being put over, even though they don't really deserve to be put over by the legends. As for AEW, they just suck in general, and they're never going to really recover from the damage Tony Khan did. That's what I'm thinking and meaning. But I'm not saying WWE is going to be successful on Netflix. I even talked about this in the past, how WWE is not going to be successful. Most people, believe it or not, don't. Even though I already talked about the advertisements, most people don't go to Netflix for WWE. They go for anime, K-dramas, or even Cobra Kai. So like that's not. I already said this is not going to last for very long. The ratings probably won't last for very long if they can't even maintain viewership, especially for the show they put on like that night. Yeah, you can tell like it's not going to be successful. Even if you wanted to make your argument that it's top 1, apparently it dropped to top 4, but that's only hearsay. So like even if it's in top 10 now, it was only in top 10 because Hulk Hogan was there. Hulk Hogan was there. People wanted that's another thing to take into account. Hulk Hogan was there, and that was the talk of the media. That's why it was number 1. That is the other only reason. So, but like I said, of course there's going to be no viewership. Of course it's going to have some explode, but that's temporary. And if WWE can't maintain that, that's not going to matter. I don't think they will. Now that can change next week. Though I don't think they'll have the same numbers at all. I think it'll be much lower than globally than those statistically. And if it's anywhere near the global number that Nielsen is suggesting, even the household name numbers is 2.6 mil, I'll be shocked. Like if it's even like anywhere near around it, maybe even higher, who knows? But only time will tell. So we're just gonna have to wait for like the next Raw. I mean, that's all that matters. So I've talked about that. I want to go in depth a bit in Netflix even more. I wanted to talk about like the Asian, yeah, because this is funny because you'll come to figure out as you read about it is that as Netflix is investing in a lot of Asian what do you Asian entertainment, I'll say that. Asian content from like South Korea and Japan. Like they got a lot of anime. They even got like a lot of K dramas, and a lot of those K dramas are based on like web comics drawn out, and some of those are like them trying to sneak in the little woke shit. Like for instance, Sweet Home is supposed to be the cops and the nerd kid, or tackling shit like tackling a monster. I'll say that. And there was no female firefighter, and the guy was a cop. But in the show, they decided to replace the guy cop with the female firefighter, even though she was never in the comics to begin with. She's just an added on character to the Sweet Home show to tackle a monster to help Nerd Guy or whatever, and bring it back. And the cop guy in that show wasn't a cop, but he was a gangster now, and beating on some guy for whatever reason, taping him up, tying him up, and the only visible thing about him was an eye. So it was a gangster beating up some dude for whatever reason that we don't understand. Yay! But keep in mind, but knowing that all this is the kicker here. As Netflix is investing in a lot of other content in like South Korea and Japan, get this, Netflix is not even available in those countries. Not even available in those like areas. Not at all. Yet Netflix is investing in their freaking shit. I don't know what the deal is. I have yet to understand it entirely, but it's just not available in those regional areas at all. Like, in fact, the entire places. Expanded this. I'm not sure what the deal is. I'm not sure what happens there. I don't know why the content in those countries would be not available to those same countries. But who knows? Maybe Kim Jong-un or whoever is president of Japan right now just decided, like, I don't want those things here. I want them in the United States and shit. So it makes it a little bit weird. So it's not really understandable. I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about, so I'm just gonna hang out a bit more. 21 minutes. How's everybody doing? Good, good. I think I can end it right here, though, because nobody's interested. But that's fine, because I am done. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.